Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
I have been, and always shall be, your friend. Live long and prosper.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show Take 2. If you have been listening to us live, you'll know what that means because my internet is just being horrible. It has just been really horrible, and so we've attempted this before, so we're attempting this for a second time. So people listening live are lucky of getting two versions of the show. We are recording...
I don't know about lucky, but...
Yeah, I know, considering, we'll forget about that in the past. We are recording live on the 1st of March 2015, if you're listening to us in Podcast World. I'm Stuart.
I'm Andrew. Again.
Yeah, we'll not go over the stuff that we went over in the live stuff. Coming up on this week's show, we're looking at these films.
The second best exotic Marigold Hotel. We have Focus with Will Smith in it. We have Boy Next Door with Jennifer Lopez. And we have Horror with It Follows.
And on Blu-ray and DVD, we're looking at these films.
We have British drama comedy Pride. We have American thriller with Nightcrawler. We have historic drama about the artist Mr. Turner. We have drama with Robert Downey Jr. in The Judge. We have foreign horror in Wreck for Apocalypse. Nicolas Cage back in The Dying of the Light. And then finally untrick my tongue. Final film of the day, of the night. Oh dear, this is not good. Is Clown.
Do you want to go back to the...
My fear of clowns is just taking over.
So you've got colorophobia.
Whatever it's called, yeah.
Your colorophobia. And we're also looking at the TV movies of the week and the Blu-ray DVD top 10, the box office top 10. I'll go into it when I review Clown, trust me. And so the latest movie news, you can get us, contact us via email, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com, Twitter at Monday Movie Show, Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. Leave us your comments there. You can also get us in the live chat in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So let's kick things off, like we did previously, with some movie news.
Yeah, I mean, it seems weird to say it again, but going over the sad news of Leonard Nimoy, the actor best known for playing the alien, half-human, half-alien Spock in the original series of Star Trek from 1966 even to 1969, has passed away at the age of 83. Passed away last Friday at his home in Los Angeles due to a chronic lung condition that he had been diagnosed with and announced last year, obstructive pulmonary disease. The actor was well known for the role of Spock, but also appearing in other roles, several that have obviously in recent years were sort of pastiches of that, and reviving the character in J.J. Abrams, both his Star Trek movies, but also was a well-accomplished director, not only directing a couple of the Star Trek films themselves, but also directing such films, believe it or not, as things like Three Men and a Baby. He had a career as well during which he released several albums, and was quite a prolific, all well-known round sort of actor and director involved in, I think his IMDb list of acting roles lists well over 100 roles. So it's a shame. I mean, he lived to a ripe old age of 83, but it's a shame. Obviously, another one of the original Star Trek cast has passed away.
Yeah, it's sad to see him go. All I'll just say is live long and prosper.
Yeah,
simple as that.
It's really as well a shame. I can't remember exactly what it was, but his last tweet, because he was quite prolific Twitterer as well. On Twitter, his last tweet was really quite sort of profound, and his last one, he knew he was ill of the disease. It's almost as if he knew what he was dying there and then, and it's quite sort of sad and memorable. But it ends with, I can't remember exactly where he put it, but it did end with LOLP, live long, and LOAP, live long and prosper. So it's kind of a sadly fitting sort of final tweet from him.
Yep, sad to see him go. Other movie news is, according to The Wrap, Denis Villeneuve has been announced as the director of the Blade Runner sequel. Harrison Ford has been confirmed to be reprising his role as Rick Deckard, with Ridley Scott producing the sequel.
I was interested about this, the fact that Harrison Ford said something along the lines of, I'll go back and ruin all of my original films until I've got none left. So he's talking about going back and replaying the characters from old films, obviously referring to the disaster that was the last Indiana Jones film, him now replaying Han Solo in the Star Wars films, in J.J. Abrams' new Star Wars film, and then this with Blade Runner. And it's a question, I mean, Blade Runner is one of those films that, if you go back and look at it, yes, there are some things that seem sort of outdated because of the fact that it's set in the future, but ideas that it had and the way it looked at technology, some have, some haven't come to pass, and it's one of those weird films, but it's still a great film. I'm interested to see what route they'll play with the second one, if it's going to be something that will be, if they're going to be sort of same world, same sort of thing, or if they're going to do it and have the technology be more advanced, obviously, because it's based on the real world or based on what was sort of established in the Blade Runner in the first film.
Well, I like Denis Villeneuve as a director. He directed Prisoners and he directed The Brilliantly Creepy Enemy, which got majorly overlooked, just got shoehorned into cinemas and then released on Blu-ray and DVD practically straight after, which is a shame because that's a fantastically creepy movie.
And I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, you should, because it has, like I said, the end scene. Not just like the end, like 10 seconds. It's the end scene. The last thing you see on the screen is the weirdest thing you will see in a film, period. Full stop. It will even actually make directors like David Lynch and David Cronenberg just gasp. Because it is such completely left field. You don't expect it, and it is very weird. But it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the Blade Runner series, because he is such a gritty director, because his two previous films are gritty films, so he's a very gritty director, so we'll see how he handles it.
Yeah, that's true.
The reboot of the Tomb Raider movie franchise has been given the green light, with Divergent and Snow White and the Huntsman writer Evan Doherty set to pen the script. Warner Brothers and MGM will co-finance the project, with Warner set to distribute.
This is another reboot of a franchise that the first place wasn't especially brilliant anyway. I mean, I had fun with the first one, but the second one was quite awful. And do we need it? I guess I don't know. I guess we don't need it, but we're going to get it.
Yeah, just while we're on that, what's your thoughts on Neil Blomkamp handling the Alien series? Because you weren't here for the show last week, and it's just interesting to hear what your thoughts, considering that you are a huge, massive fan of the series.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I like that he's... The first thing I like about it is the fact that for the first time in a while, it's a film in a series that the director has actually pushed to get themselves directing. It's not something that they've gone, oh, we're going to make another one, who can we get for it? It's a film that they've gone, we weren't going to make any more, but this director really wants to do it, so we're thinking we'll give him a shot. I like that. I like that idea that he's going to bring a lot more passion to it, that he wants to do it. I have reservations because there's been mixed things about saying it's not going to be part of the storyline and ignore Alien 3 and 4, and then there's been things saying it's not going to ignore them, but it's going to do something different. But I don't know. So because I love Alien 3. Alien 3 is actually, I think, my favourite of the series, because I love David Fincher and I think it was a great film, and I think it's very underrated. The fourth one is the weakest film, and it's a shame because I've read the original script before 20th Century Fox went and basically went, no, that's going to cost too much, no, that's going to cost too much, and they took out a lot of things, because the original script was written by Joss Whedon, which a lot of people aren't probably aware of, and the first half of the fourth film is purely all Alien stuff that he'd written, and then the last half they went and kind of weeked out and decided, no, we won't do this because it will cost too much money, or they don't like it, and
made a deep blue sea in space.
Yes, exactly. Although that was mostly part of that bit wasn't affected. The real end of the film was changed, which was disappointing. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm just looking forward to it with bated breath and with reservations, because the Alien franchise, and by extension the Predator franchise, have kind of been watered down because of the films we had recently, and that's a shame, because it's a great franchise, and it's one that I will, if she's listening, I know she's listening, I will be making my other half watch all 4 of the Alien films, especially if there's another one coming out, because we'll be going to see that in the cinema together, and she will be fully educated in the Alien franchise before we do that.
Well, this is supposed to come out after Prometheus 2, so you'll have to make her watch Prometheus in line for Prometheus 2.
Yeah.
Then watch the Alien films, and if you can be bothered, Alien versus Predator. But there's no need to watch them.
Necessary. No.
To be honest, yeah. Last piece of news is Warner Brothers has confirmed that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller will not return to direct the Lego Movie sequel. That duty will be handed to community director Rob Schrab. Miller and Lord will write and produce the film, though. The sequel will be out in 2017 and be set 4 years after the original.
Another sequel thing. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
We need original news.
Unfortunately, there wasn't original news. The only original news was the death of Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, it's a shame. But we were talking about before the show, before the first attempt at the show, that obviously the Fast and Furious franchise, the 7th film's coming out in April, and the trailer was out for it. And again, it's a trailer, it's a sequel, but it shows far too much already. It's we're getting off on to completely different thing here, but yeah, there's just sequel, boring.
Box office top 10 then.
Yeah. Starting at number 10 with American Sniper.
There's no way they can make a sequel to this. It's honestly really sad to see that, but there is definitely no way, because the guy who killed Chris Kyle, which the American Sniper is about, was sentenced to life imprisonment. It was the middle of last week. The trial was going on from 2013. When it happened, an ex-Marine actually did it. Who was involved, because Chris Kyle was involved in a program where he went to ex-Marines who were suffering from the turmoils of coming back from places like Iraq and all the things that they experienced, and he was trying to help them. And so, unfortunately, he lost his life, and that was originally how the ending of the film was going to play out. But they decided to change that because of, obviously, with the family and the ongoing case. You've heard our thoughts on what we thought of the film. The sniper part of the film is the better bit.
I was saying this actually when we lost connections during the first attempt of the show. I was saying exactly the same thing. We agree on that the sniper parts in is it Iraq or Afghanistan? I forget.
It's Iraq.
It's Iraq. I think I said Afghanistan earlier. The sniper parts in it are the best bit. When it comes back to America, it doesn't play out so well. It doesn't really know what to do. It doesn't know how to deal with those parts. And it's the thing of that. I mean, it's Clint Eastwood, who is a minimalist director, but I think that doesn't work for the American parts. It works fine for the sniper elements, because if you can get what you need in those in a couple of shots, that's fine. But if you can't get what you need in the emotional parts of the film, the dramatic parts of the film, then the film isn't going to work, and that's why I think the film doesn't quite work. It's okay, but it doesn't work. Could have been a lot better. Could have been worse, but could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
And number 9 is Jupiter Ascending,
which I found completely and utterly ridiculous. It's the Wachowskis. They're obsessed with making their storyline so complex just to bamboozle the audience, so they don't realise how empty the film really is. Because when you've got a character that's spliced between a human and a bee, and one that's spliced between a human and a dog or a wolf, and Mila Kunis constantly falling and having to be catched all the time, it is just ridiculous. The storyline is ridiculous. I was bored out of my skull. I know you weren't, but I was just bored out. I was waiting for the film to end because there was nothing interesting me in the film at all. It looks nice, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I didn't find that I got bored with it, and that's the thing. I found that I was enjoying it. I had fun. I didn't have very high expectations of it. I knew it was going to be a big budget effects thing, but it didn't so much that it. I've seen films that were less interesting and less visually entertaining that I started to nod off in. One of them is in the DVD block section of the show, the top 10, which we'll get to when I do that. But it's a series that was it's a film that I found surprisingly was okay. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as I was expecting. Number 8, another film that stars Eddie Redmayne in it, as well as Jupiter Ascending, but in a lot better film, The Theory of Everything.
Yeah, they thought that it was going to do an Orbit, as it's probably known as now, an Eddie Murphy thing, when he was actually nominated for an Academy Award, and then the same year nominated for a Razzie, because he was nominated for Norbit the same year he was nominated for I forgot the name of the musical that he was nominated for, but he was nominated. He was nominated for a musical, and he was nominated for a Razzie for Norbit. Eddie Redmayne was not nominated for a Razzie for his role in Jupiter Ascending. He was nominated for he was nominated for The Theory of Everything and won, which he definitely deserved. A brilliant role portraying Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, I completely agree. Not the best. The film isn't as good, but his performance definitely outshines everything else. Number 7 is Peppa Pig: The Golden Boots. Yeah,
it's on for around about 60 minutes. 45 minutes of that is taken up by stuff that's already been shown on TV. It's hosted by the same people who host Peppa Pig on, I think it's Channel 5 in the UK. And there is only 15 minutes of brand new content in it. And Mark, from Following the Nerd, thought it was really funny. He was laughing about the new content, which involves the characters going to space and finding a cafe on the moon. Okay.
Good to know that we're treating teaching kids, the reality of things and the next potential astronauts, the next people that will maybe go to Mars. They're going to live on a planet where there's no atmosphere and think, oh yeah, there'll be a cafe there when we get there.
There's going to be pigs and moomins.
At number 6 is a new entry for Project Almanac.
Yeah, the problem with Project Almanac is that it's trying to be intelligent and it's not. It centers around a group of kids who end up discovering this machine in the basement of one of the friends, which enables them to go back in time. They initially go back in time for a couple of hours, and then they push their luck and go back in time a few days into a few weeks, and then they start to change time and things weirdly in the future start to happen. It's just full of product placement because you've got the Xbox, which they put the time machine in. The story strands are all over the place because the director just introduces too many of them in the last half of the film to try and make it seem intelligent, but it's not. The first half plays out pretty well. It plays out where the group of kids are just you're actually learning them. You're sort of like following their journey, their enjoyment with this time machine by them just going a couple of hours back and sort of like getting back on a bully. Like when one of them gets soaked by some juice, she goes back in time and then just tips a lot of stuff over her. So that's the enjoyable part. It's just when it gets to the last half of the film where it starts to majorly lose its way.
Number 5, and you're also a new entry for The Wedding Ringer.
Yeah, we haven't seen The Wedding Ringer, and it's a Kevin Hart film with Josh Gad in it. Josh Gad did the voice of Olaf from Frozen, which is a new trailer out for Frozen Forever, which is at the start of the new Cinderella film. And this will give you an indication on how bad, or maybe bad, The Wedding Ringer is. This was a rejected script. It was a rejected script, and so much so that it was found in a box in an abandoned warehouse of a movie studio. One day, I don't know, maybe they were cleaning up this movie studio or something like that, and they found the script for The Wedding Ringer and thought, let's create this into a film. And Kevin Hart actually bought out 2 huge, massive cinema screens, which seats around about 500 people each. Went onto Twitter to say, Kevin Hart sent me, just so he could get sort of like publicity for the film. And he's even actually indicated that this is his best work.
I'm kind of like curious. I was meant to see this and review it last week. I didn't get a chance because I was ill and wasn't able to first of all see it and then do the show. I've still not seen it. I basically, I mean, it does look essentially like it's a rip-off of Hitch, The Wedding Crashers, and The Ringer. And that's it. It doesn't look as if it's particularly original at all, and I don't expect it's going to be funny any funnier than anything else that Kevin Hart has done.
Nope.
Although obviously we can't say that for sure because we haven't seen it. Number 4 is Kingsman: The Secret Service.
I think the film itself sags a little bit in the middle section of the movie. It's overly too long as well. It harkens back to the sort of like the old style James Bond movies, and you can see that with its titillation, with its humour, with its tongue-in-cheek. None of them are innuendos, just me. So the film itself, I think the problem is the middle section of the movie. Nothing else about the movie, even though you've got the few little controversial scenes in it, we've mentioned the major one over and over again. Just people need to back away from that and just watch the film as a whole, not concentrate on the last frame of the movie.
I don't see... I see that there's all the fuss and everything about it, but the thing is, it's the fact that it's doing that as a kind of an homage to the Bond films. If you go back and look at, especially the Roger Moore films from the Bond series, they were just like that, only not 18 rated sort of things. They were, in fact, they got away with a lot more in films that are now rated PG, and they're especially innuendos that are completely sort of quite, if you think about it, in quite bad taste as well. Number 3 is Shaun the Sheep, the movie.
I really enjoyed it. It's an 88-minute, pretty much silent movie, obviously, apart from little grunts and noises and things like that, and the music as well. But it's fun. It's entertaining. It never overstays its welcome. The story fits perfectly in with its running time. Shaun is such a likeable character. The bad guy is properly despicable, and it's got some really funny, entertaining scenes in it.
I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. Although I do want to see it because it's Aardman Animation, who are fantastic.
Yep.
Number 2 is Big Hero 6.
Which you've not seen yet, I'm guessing.
I still haven't seen it, no. And the thing is, I'm probably going to end up getting it on Blu-ray when it comes out, because it does look amazing. I really do want to see it. But I've been looking into some things, because from what I'm hearing about it, in America, surprisingly, it hasn't got a 3D Blu-ray release. There's apparently issues with it being... The comic that it's actually based on, it's based on a Marvel comic. An original Marvel comic, and there's issues around that as to who should get to the rights to release it for a 3D version. So even in America, oddly enough, it's not got a 3D Blu-ray release, it's just got a normal Blu-ray release, a 2D Blu-ray release, and that means question over whether or not the 3D version, because animated films are great for 3D, question of whether or not the 3D release is going to happen here as well.
But we'll see. But the film itself is not the brilliance that a lot of people are making it out to be, but it's still Disney on its high horse, on its high ground, because they have shown, Disney Animation Studios, not like Pixar or anything like that, they have shown since they've opened up Disney Animation Studios how much of a brilliant company they are, and it's got some really funny moments in it. It's just that I wish they wouldn't have went to the stereotypical superhero part and tried to be slightly more original than the way it ended off. So I think the first 2/3 of the movie is the best bit of the film. It's just the last third where it cops out a little bit.
Yeah, I do want to see it, and hopefully I'll see it at the cinema, but there's so many things I need to try and catch up on now. I just have doubts. Which means that the number 1 movie at the UK box office, surprisingly still at number 1, considering a massive drop-off in the United States in its second week, 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, it's actually the third week in the United States now, but obviously with the chart being up on the Monday Movie Show website, that was the second week. But it's now dropped to number 4 in the US top 10.
What I was meaning is comparably, because in the second week in America, it dropped something like 75%.
74% in America, and this week it's dropped another 55% on last week's take. And so people are realising how much of a damp squib this movie is. It's not as bad as a lot of people think that it is. It's just a completely forgettable, boring film. It's not really interesting at all, because I felt like there was no chemistry between both characters. There was nothing there between them at all, apart from 1 or 2 tiny little scenes in the movie. The rest of the film is just completely forgettable.
I didn't think it was that terrible, but I do think that it's not a great film, but I think that it's getting a lot of backlash purely because of the hype. That the hype was built up, it was expected to be so great, and then it turns out to be not a great film. I'm not saying it is the worst film ever made, there's plenty out there that's worse, but it's because of the hype that obviously that it's getting a lot of backlash against it because of that hype. People were expecting it to be such a big thing, and fans of the book were expecting so much more from it, and it just couldn't live up to it.
No. Right, that's it for the box office top 10. I completely forgot that I was hosting the cinema section of the show.
Yeah.
Let's kick things off movie review wise with our first film of the week. It's the second best exotic Marigold Hotel. the sequel to The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Apologies, I was meant to see this film, but this week, not being well and all, I just haven't had a chance and all.
Which I kindly stepped in because I was off for a week, so I thought, why not? I'll go to see it anyway because I had very little to do that day. So this one is directed by John Madden, not the American football player. And it stars Dev Patel, who returns as Sonny, who was the original character in the first one, after setting up the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. It's got its very small clientele, which then sends both Dev Patel's character and Maggie Smith's character off to America because he comes up with a brilliant idea of starting a chain of hotels in India for the kind of people that reside in the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. They need funding because obviously they can't open it themselves, so they try to speak to a group of people in America to help them out with that. They said that they're going to send over a person just to investigate, see how their books and things like that are going, and so they end up going back to India to try and make sure that the hotel, the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, is up to scratch and waiting for somebody to turn up. Lo and behold, a couple of people turn up on exactly the same day, played by Tamsin Greig and Richard Gere. And there is a bit of a scuffle and who might actually be the inspector. And it turns out maybe Dev Patel might be right or Maggie Smith might be right. And so while they're arguing with that, you've got the other story strands of the movie where it centres around Bill Nye's character and Judi Dench, and could there be a love interest in there? And then you've got Celia Imrie's character, who was torn between two people and she's not sure if she's going to marry this rich person or this other rich person. And then you've got other little story strands interleaving into the main one, which does centre around Dev Patel's character trying to open up the second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, while also going through his marriage, while also igniting his sort of like hatred kind of friendship with one of his rivals. Here's a clip giving you a feel of what the film's like.
If you only go once around the room, Mrs. Donnelly, you are wiser than he who remains sitting still. And thus we too return to India with new ideas and greater enlightenment of the state of the world and humanity.
That flight made my ankles swell.
Sunena!
Danny! I don't mind me. I'm just standing there on my ankles.
I missed you too.
Look. Oh, come on, we weren't away that long. Why are you here? Who's on reception?
Oh, Sunny's mother has arrived.
Let's go back to America.
Everything else smooth. How are the new menus?
Oh, they look great. Oh, and the wedding tents have arrived.
Then let us go see them. Is Vikram outside with his beautiful minibus?
I didn't come with Vikram. I got a lift.
A lift? From who?
Look at you, Sonny. All of you got bigger except your little poppy out ears.
How I've missed your affectionate humour, Kushal.
Now, here's the thing with the second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. It feels really bad, sort of like criticising a movie like this, because this is the kind of thing that your grandparents would absolutely love. And just to prove it, I went to see it on a Thursday afternoon because it was released in the UK on a Thursday. And I was the youngest person in the screening. There was about 35 people in the screening of this movie. And I was the youngest person. Now, I'm 34, so I'm not really that young. But everybody in the audience was at least 10 years older than me. And it's the kind of audience that it plays out with. The first film plays to exactly the same kind of audience. It's the kind of simple fodder that suits well to that audience. And that's not saying that this movie, it's bad for that, but at least it knows what its audience is, what its target audience is. It's for the people who have seen the original film and who fell in love with the original film. And it's not trying to be anything else. And that's where the problem lies with it, because it is aimed at a specific age group. If you get took by your grandparents to see it and you're below, well, I would say below my age, 34 below, I think you'll not get very much from the movie at all. There is a few little funny jokes here and there, and all the characters are very well acted by Maggie Smith, Dev Patel, Bill Nye, Judi Dench, Richard Gere, Penelope Wilton, Celia Imrie, Tamsin Greig. So everybody has got a very good character, and each one of the characters is given their own proper story strands. It's just, you'll not find it interesting. You'll not find it as funny because the jokes are aimed at the older audience. Plus, it's a very scatterbrained film because it is trying to give each one of the characters their due course. It just feels like the director is cramming so many storylines into the movie without properly concentrating on the main one, because he comes back to that one every now and again. and it just makes the film feel too long. There is easily a couple of the story strands which could easily just be taken out. Maybe the Celia Imrie one, which involves her decision between two suitors. Maybe that one could have just been left on the wayside as maybe it's a DVD extra when it comes out as like a 20-minute short Second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel alongside it as a companion piece. It's just so it's got too many story strands and it's aimed at a specific audience, whereas the younger audience will not get it. But that's not to say that it's a bad film, because it's not. It's got some fantastic cinematography. The shots of India are really nicely framed, and the acting is very well done.
I know, because I've seen the first one and I enjoyed it. You haven't seen the first one because you had to fill in. But I'm just kind of curious. You haven't seen the first one, but would you recommend the second one to people, or would you, if they like this sort of thing, or would you say, has it interested you to go back and see the first one?
No, because it feels like it's just a retread of the first one. It's annoying when sequels do that. They just look at the first one and just go, we'll play it safe and just retread the same territory. So it just feels like I've seen trailers and clips and bits and bobs of the first one. I haven't sat down and fully watched it. It's on Film 4 during the week.
It was on I think it was on Saturday night or Sunday night.
Well, it's Film 4, so they'll repeat it. So
it is Sunday night, sorry.
Yeah, so it just feels like it's retreading the same kind of territory. So I have no interest in actually going back and watching it. Unlike with something like How to Train Your Dragon 2, I've still not seen the first one, even though I've got it. I want to sit down and watch that one rather than me going back and watching the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Okay. Right, I'm going to go on to Focus then, which is the only cinema release I'm doing this week. But it's the sort of... It is a heist sort of thriller with Will Smith as sort of this main character who is a con man. We're introduced to him sort of very early on as a man who phones up the intro of the film actually starts with him phoning up a restaurant to book a table. They say, "Oh, we can't book anything tonight. We're booked months in advance." Next thing you see, he picks up another phone, calls the restaurant. Cut to the restaurant, he's sitting there eating on his own on a table. You have a character played by Margot Robbie who's at the bar there. She is sort of sitting there alone with a guy trying to pick her up unsuccessfully. She's just not interested. She pretends, goes over to him and says, "That's my boyfriend, can you please pretend to be my boyfriend?" And so this guy will stop hassling me. Turns out she has like a nice evening with him, which leads one thing to another, and they end up back in his hotel room where something else happens. Here's a clip.
Oh my god. Jared, wait!
Whoa!
Jared, just let him go.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't do it.
I'm drawing a blank.
What?
I think you should shoot me. You'd really be doing me a favor. Cancer. Tumor the size of a peach.
He's on to us.
Oh. You guys suck.
Just give us the money.
Or what?
Or he's gonna shoot you in the neck.
I want to shoot a guy with cancer? Grandma Mikulski had cancer.
He doesn't have cancer, you idiot.
You guys really boned this thing. First of all, you gotta wait till she gets my pants off. And then you gotta give me a chance to run. That's how you get the money. And you never drop the con. You never break. Die with the lie.
And why'd you come up here if you're so smart?
Professional curiosity. And I like boobs. I figured it was a win-win.
So from then onwards, he ends up sort of agreeing quickly to teach her a couple things about how to, pull off good heists, how to pick pockets, and with a sort of a good lift, as it's called. And he goes through early on an actually pretty well done and great performance role of him, picking her pocket and teaching her the whole thing of it's all about focus. You've got to focus on, the brain is slow. It can't multitask. Tap him here, take from here. That's the whole thing of it, and it's about focusing on them, but making them focus on you and sort of things. Ends up sort of taking her on as a sort of a trainee in his group of thieves that he's leading, and they go through this whole process of they're at the hotel and they have this big sort of scene where the two of them have a big argument, and while all around them people that are working with Will Smith's character are stealing off people who are distracted by them in the middle of this crowd. It then goes on to the two of them having a relationship and things leading on from there into another story which I won't go into because that's got a spoiler territory. But the thing I will say about this is all the way through this and leading up to it before seeing it, there is another film that I was thinking of called Confidence, which is a film with Ed Burns. It's a similar kind of thing about con men and grifting and sort of the crew working together sort of thing. And it does have similarities to that, but it goes off on its whole thing and does other things as well. I will say this about it. I was genuinely surprised at a couple of the twists. Then there are other twists in it which I saw coming a mile off. So I'm quite sort of impressed by that it did manage to pull the wool over my eyes on a couple of things, but it didn't do it as well as it hoped and thinks it did. It does a sort of a marginal job and does an okay thing with it. It's not bad, it's not brilliant, it's okay. I will say this as well, Will Smith is very good in the film. He's very confident, very perfect in the role. Margot Robbie is also very good in the role, because there's this whole thing of the two of them, and you will they, won't they? Are they playing each other? Are they for real? And there's not any point during the film that you kind of go, oh well, I know it's this one, or I know you kind of left undecided for the majority of the film until the end of the film, and then there's a question of, you know, whether or not they are or they aren't, and I like that about it. I really like that it did stretch out the things a little bit, but not any longer than it needed to, because it's not even a 2-hour film, so it doesn't feel too long. It's an hour and 40 odd minutes, and that's nice. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It doesn't get to a point where you go, I'm bored, finish. You just go along for the ride. It has moments in it where it has nice sort of bits of humour. The dialogue is okay, if a little bit sort of stretching it at some points, but I liked it. I thought it was well done.
Oh, well then, on to the next film then. I'm just trying to move things on a little bit. The Boy Next Door, directed by Rob Cohen. That gives sort of, he is one of the directors, isn't it? When you see his name attached to a film, it gives a bit of a kiss of death slightly.
He's kind of a director who seems to get things. He's one of these directors who gets brought in for sequels a lot, and is kind of the go-to guy for okay sequels, but nothing exceptional.
Yeah, he did films like Dragonheart, and he did the first Fast and Furious movie, and Stealth, and The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, the first Fast and Furious film is actually a really good film. It's his best one, I think, so far, and this might top it.
Yeah, and his previous film to this was Alex Cross, which might give you an indication on where the kind of territory that he's going down with this movie. It's actually produced by Blumhouse Productions, so it's a Jason Blum movie. He's got his grubby little fingers in absolutely everything at the moment, because he's got another film out in the US right now called The Lazarus Project, which is made for $3 million and it made 10. So this was made for about $5 million and it made 36. So he's a genius at creating movies on a small budget. And it stars Jennifer Lopez. The storyline is very straightforward. She plays Claire Peterson. She lives with her son, Kevin. One day when they're driving out of the garage door gets stuck. This hunk of a guy comes to rescue her in the form of Noah. He tells her that he's living across the street with her uncle. Her uncle's sort of like his uncle's got a few little troubles, and so he's helping out with that. And so Noah ends up becoming friends with Kevin. Then one night during a rainstorm, Noah ends off. Here's the clip which will explain it.
Hey, Dad, this is Noah. Remember I've been talking about him a lot?
Hey, nice to meet you.
I feel like I know you. He talks about you so much. Told me about the alternator you put in the truck.
Oh, actually, Kevin helped out too, so...
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was so cool. I had no idea you could do that yourself.
Well, that's what friends are for.
Hey, Mrs. Peterson.
Hey, Noah.
Oh, looks perfect. You tell him what happened this weekend?
What happened?
Oh, there was a big thunderstorm up here. You guys didn't get it up there?
No, beautiful. Dry as a bone at the lake.
Well, it got pretty wet here.
Wow.
You know what? Big day tomorrow, first day of school. It's getting kind of late.
It's like 8:30.
No. Actually, I gotta get going. It's a big day tomorrow. I'll walk out with you, Mr. Peterson.
Oh, I'm gonna stay around a while, thanks.
Well, I'll walk out with you, Noah. Yeah, come on. Do you want to take a cookie for the road?
Love your mother's cookies.
They're great, right?
Nice to meet you.
Hey, you too, pal.
So that clip there gives you an indication what happened between both Noah and Claire. A little frisson happened during this rainstorm, and now Noah has become slightly obsessed with Claire up until the point where he becomes psychotically obsessed with Claire and ruins her life. And The film itself is stupidly predictable. It's beyond a joke when it comes to how predictable the movie is. It is a take tab A and slot it into tab A. It doesn't even go to the tab B part. It just wants to go straight down the line. It never tries to deviate away from what it is. And sometimes that can be fine with a movie, because with thrillers like this, you don't mind a cheesy thriller where you don't have very much to concentrate at all. You don't expect any plot twists to happen. You just expect the way the movie is going to flow, and that's it. In this case, though, because it's handled really badly in both direction and acting, there is nothing interesting in it. As a matter of fact, just to increase the movie a little bit and the violence in the movie, because the director realised that it's a 15, so we need to have a few violent scenes in it. The last 10-15 minutes of it just goes into ridiculous territory. So it's a completely forgettable movie, but like with 50 Shades of Grey, it's not one of these movies where it demands people to go, oh, this is the worst film of the year, or this is an awful, awful film. It's a completely forgettable thriller, and calling it a thriller is actually doing it justice. It's just a forgettable movie. Just forget it.
Listening to you talk about that reminds me of that film No Good Deed with Idris Elba that was released not that long ago. It sounds very kind of similar kind of B-movie, kind of just generic thriller with not a lot going for it.
This isn't even the B-movie territory, because with B-movies, at least you can sit back, take out your brain, and enjoy it. With this movie, if you take out your brain, you're just sitting there going, grrr, and not even concentrating on it. So it's not B-movie, it's more like D-E-movie.
Okay.
Which is a weird one. It sounds like I'm actually calling it a vitamin of a film. Right. Last film. I'm normally used to actually you doing the next film straight after, so it's just weird that I've got.
What vitamin do you get from lemons? I'm just thinking like you
C?
know, a list of. Is that C? So
I think it is.
Then.
Yeah,
it is a lemon. C lemon then. So it's a C film.
Yeah, it's a lemon of a movie.
We have to come up with a list of all the vitamins and what fruits and vegetables have them, so we can give them a rating of, it's a lemon.
Or from now on, we're actually rating our films in fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And so by the end of the year, when we're trying to come up against our list, instead of looking at 8s or 7s, we're looking at cucumbers or radishes.
Actually, let's test this out then quickly on the spot for your next film. What fruit or vegetable would you class for It Follows?
Pak choy.
Eh? What's that?
Yeah. Pak choy is a Chinese cabbage.
Okay. Explain with your review then.
Just because the film itself is very, very interesting. So the last film of the night is It Follows, and it's directed by David Robert Mitchell, and it's one of those movies where the little you know about the film, the better. I'll just give you a basic premise of the film. It centres around a 19-year-old Jay. She lives in sort of the time frame isn't actually given. It's a amalgamation between present day, because you see a few little bits and bobs of present day technology, and very 80s, so the kind of thing that you would normally see in like Halloween. And it centers around Jay. She's with a friend. She lives a very normal sort of like mundane life. She's got the attractions of one of the boy main characters in the movie, and she goes out with him, and she ends up having sex with him. However, he ends up doing something to her, and this clip will explain what he's gone and done to her.
This thing, it's gonna follow you. Somebody gave it to me, and I passed it to you, back in the car. It could look like someone you know, or it could be a stranger in a crowd. Whatever helps it get close to you. It can look like anyone, but there's only one of it.
And so, as that clip explains there, something has been practically attached to her. It will always follow her. She hasn't a clue what the thing would look like. It can take the vision, or it can take the look of anybody, but it will always follow her at walking speed, so it gives her a chance to get rid of it. And so the rest of the movie explores how she has to come to terms with this or tries to stop this thing. Now, an indication of what this film is like. When I went to see this at the cinema, 6 people walked out. 4 people walked out within the first 20 minutes. And 2 people walked out with like 20 minutes left of the film. So It Follows is going to be a majorly divisive movie. You will either get on board with it, and I think it's dependent on when you were born. It is another one of these films depending on when you were born, because the director is harking back to the movies of the very late 70s and early 80s, the slasher films of that era. So if you're looking at things like Friday the 13th or Halloween, it's got a very Halloween feel in the both style of it, the way it's shot, the music. The music is brilliant. It's very heavily synthesized, but it's creepy and it suits the film perfectly. Now, indications from a lot of critics were saying that this movie is a really creepy, sort of like gets under your skin movie. It didn't affect me in that front. I had to think on it, and I like movies which enable you to do that. Instead of you coming out of the cinema and instantly making your mind up of what you felt of the film, I like movies to sort of like sit there and then you question yourself whether you liked it, and you go over the movie back into your head. And that's what I did with It Follows. It took me a day to realise if I liked the film or if I didn't like the film. And I came to the ultimate conclusion that I really liked the film. I admire what it was doing, because it wasn't trying to follow the same kind of films that it is trying to be. It sounds weird, that, because there are a lot of tropes in this movie which you've seen in multiple films of the kind that it is. But it's then trying to do its own take on it. And so instead of it being like a pastiche of itself, it's trying to create its own little foothold in the horror genre. It takes elements from films like Teeth and films like Halloween and Friday the 13th and stuff like that. But it also adds the teenage element in it when it comes to STDs, because the It Follows thing, the it or whatever it is, it fails because the movie itself is all about sex, and the only way you can get rid of it or pass it on is by having sex. It feels like it's a manifestation of an STD about the troubles which teenagers are going through. So it might speak on different audiences on that front. It can be creepy to some, but it didn't creep on me. But it will make you think when you come out of the cinema, and I like films which make you do that.
It sounds like an interesting premise. I like the idea of it from the sounds of it, but is it?
It's not a scary movie. It's not one of those.
Is it one of these bang jump movies? It's not.
No, it's not one of those scary movies. It feels weird calling it a horror film, because I don't feel like it belongs to the horror genre. It's sort of like looking in on the horror genre, but sort of like straddling the lines between thriller and teen drama and horror. So it looks in the window in each one of these and saying that, yes, I'm here, but I'm just going to take a few elements of you. So people who are scared of horror movies, this is fine for you. It's not one of those movies where you'll get jump scares, but there are a couple of moments which are very creepy. They're not. It's not a creepy movie. It's an interesting film, but don't let people actually describe it to you fully, because it's not a movie that you need to go into it completely blind. You don't need it spoiled.
Okay, I kind of want to see this now.
Yeah, you should.
The thing is, because you know how I don't like horror films. Would I enjoy this, or will I find myself kind of not liking it or terrified of it, do you think?
No, I think you will enjoy it, because it's not like a typical horror film. I'm guessing you'll have easily sat down and watched Halloween.
Not for a long time.
But you have seen Halloween.
Yeah.
So it sort of like reminded me when I first watched Halloween. Because John Carpenter's Halloween is sort of like, it doesn't rely on the jump scares. There is always the Michael Myers character. He's always floating in the background of Laurie Strode in the Halloween films, and especially the first one. And so he's always there. Especially there is that scene where you see the camera on him, and then it turns around, and then it comes back, and he's not there. So that reminded me when I was watching It Follows.
Okay, cool.
That's it for the cinema section. We'll be back in a moment after this ad break for the DVD and Blu-ray section of the show.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
when the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And we're back with this week's home releases section, which we'll go through and have a look in a minute at some DVD and Blu-ray top 10 films. But after that, we'll then go and have a look at these movies.
We have Pride, British drama in Pride. We have a very creepy thriller in Nightcrawler, another British drama in Mr. Turner, a fourth drama in The Judge, and then just to mix things up, we have horror movie with Wreck for Apocalypse, Dying of the Light, and we'll end things off with the bargain basement horror movie of the week with Clem.
Yep, before that though, we're going to go straight into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10.
And so at number 10 is The Equalizer.
Yeah, which is a film that I really didn't like. This is the film I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about film in the cinema section, which actually I cannot remember what I said about it now, but I just remember mentioning it. It's a film that I just found was a horrible adaptation of a thing that I grew up watching, a series that I grew up watching in the original series with Edward Woodward, which I loved. I just thought this was very basic, horrible. The character was terrible, and it was just it's a horrible lack of action film.
Yeah, switch it off after the first 15 minutes because it loses its potential after that.
It does.
At number 9 is The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Yeah, which obviously the second film and the first half of the film. Stuart hasn't seen the first one. I really enjoyed it, but it is aimed at an older audience sort of film. And from what we can tell from what Stuart's seen, the second one, it's kind of the same sort of film. I think that anyone who's curious, it's worth checking out. If you like a good drama, you'll see it, you'll enjoy it, I think. I don't think you'll be bored with it. I think it's okay, but it's not for everyone.
At number 8 is Toy Story That Time Forgot.
Yeah, this is the short that was done for it was for Halloween, I think it was, wasn't it?
It was released around about Halloween, like the last one.
It's only a sort of 25-minute short, but I think it has got all the original voices in it, including Tom Hanks as not Buzz
Woody.
Lightyear. That was as Woody. Buzz Lightyear was
Tim Allen.
Thank you very much. And it's okay, but I mean it's not necessarily a great thing. It is only 25 minutes long, so bear that in mind if you buy it. But it is that Toy Story magic back again, and it does kind of make you go, "Oh, I'm glad they're making a fourth film." So yeah, I mean it's fun. I don't know if it might be available on sort of the streaming services though.
Yeah, it was originally shown on Sky because Sky had the rights to it. So it was shown on Sky Movies Premiere back in October last year. And like with the previous short Toy Story movie, they've got a 6-month window where they show exclusively on there. It's not allowed to be shown anywhere else, not even on demand, only on Sky on demand as well. Now it's released on Blu-ray and DVD, you will be able to find it. Maybe it's on iTunes or somewhere like that. Mm-hmm. Number 7 is The Maze Runner,
which I really liked. I don't know the book, but I've heard that it's a fairly decent adaptation of it. It's an interesting thing of that they make the maze is actually one of the sort of the characters of the film. I think it's a film that's got above average acting from unknown cast largely, and it's worth seeing, especially with good sound, because it's got a great sound mix in it. And I'm looking forward to seeing if they do make the further films, how it will turn out, because it sets up. It's an interesting setup. Whether or not how the next film's going to do, I don't know, but I want to see based on this.
At number 6 is Gone Girl.
Fantastic film from my favourite director I keep thinking David. I was going to say David Lynch. It's not David Lynch. It's David. I'm really struggling with him tonight. David
Fincher.
Why can I not remember that? That's really bad. My favourite director.
He's not your favourite director then anymore.
No, I don't think he is. My brain's just having a brain fart.
We all know it's Uwe Boll.
How dare you, sir? Now, Gone Girl is a fantastic film. I'm annoyed that Rosamund Pike didn't win Best Actress for it. I think she should have. But it's a fantastic film. Ben Affleck is very good in it. If you still have doubts about Ben Affleck, check this out because he's very, very good and very, very grimy in this. But it's a very nicely done film. I don't entirely agree, as you say, that it's the last 20 minutes are completely unnecessary. I think they could have been better, but I think it rounds out a brilliant film.
No, I stick by it. Fincher needs to learn to cut his movies to 2 hours or below, because it's just the last 20 minutes of this one and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo just stretch the movie out too long. And number 5 is Dracula Untold.
Which is a perfectly fine kind of reboot of the Dracula myth and all. And it's kind of the story of how Dracula became a vampire. It's not spoiling anything, because if you've seen the trailers and everything, then you'd know that. And it's perfectly fine. It's enjoyable. It's kind of like The Mummy, but not quite as bad.
And number 4 is a new entry for Annabelle.
I still haven't seen this, and I probably won't see it. But
you don't want to.
From what I hear from yourself, not the best of horror movies, and not a great spin-off from The Conjuring.
Yeah, it's just a waste of time. Wait for The Conjuring 2, which is out next year. Just avoid Annabelle. If you want to see a horror film involving a doll or a psychopathic doll like this, either watch the Chucky series or watch the first Puppet Master, because the first Puppet Master film is enjoyable. There is, I think, 7 sequels. No, actually, sorry, there isn't. There is 11 sequels. I've seen the first 8, I think, 8 or 9 of them. So I've seen quite a few of them, but there are a lot of the Puppet Master films. But watch the first one of that, because it is still pretty enjoyable. This one is just majorly forgettable. And number 3 is Game of Thrones Series 4.
Yeah, we don't really talk about TV series, but if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, give it a try, and it is a very good show. You kind of lost interest in it, haven't you?
After season 2, yeah.
Yeah, but I think season 3 and 4 is where it's actually really found its footing and got really good.
Typical, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the 5th series, which is starting soonish. So if you haven't seen it, catch up with it and then start watching it when it airs, because if you like, it's for a TV show, it's got cinema-like qualities, film-like qualities.
Yeah, considering that I was off the previous week, and so the last time when I was off work for a week, I asked what TV series should I watch, and I watched the first episode of Banshee and stopped after that. And I end up watching the first episode of TV series or whatever and then just stop. So I just may as well just stop asking people and just end up still watching the Great British Bake Off or Penny Dreadful when it starts again. Shows you about my life, that doesn't it? And number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm just remembering, you saying about that, I ended up seeing Comic Relief Bake Off thing the other day.
Yeah, I watched that.
It. I quite enjoyed it.
The Great British Bake Off.
Although I think it's largely down to the fact that Jonathan Ross just cannot cook anything without it falling apart. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is surprisingly enjoyable and surprisingly fun. It's not great. It is Michael Bay produced, though not Michael Bay directed, even though you can see his grubby little prints all over it with things. But it's, you know what, it's okay. It's fun. It has a nice couple of action sequences in it, and it's enjoyable.
And this week's new entry at number 1 is Fury,
which is a film that is very much like in the cinema section and talking about American Sniper. It's a film that has sequences that work very well. It's a film that has sequences that completely do not work at all. The scenes when they're in the tank, it's got this whole thing of that. What David? Yes, it's another David. It's me and David names for some reason. I can't get the surnames. Yeah, I'm just going to call them all Davids now. David Ayer has this thing of that he's good at writing kind of crews and the way they work together and the teams with them, and that the sequences where they're in the tank and there's sort of these 5 guys cramped in quarters in a tank that work very well, and I found really good. The sequences that are the war sequences, you didn't think so much, but I thought they were very expertly handled. The scenes when they come out of the tank are just a complete train wreck and horrible, especially scenes involving a town that they find, and this scene with these women and they sit down to dinner, and it's just, you literally go, what were you thinking for this scene? But the rest of the film, enjoyable, good. I thought it was well done, and I didn't think the ending was cliched as I think you did.
I thought the film was just too clean cut. For what the movie is, it's trying to portray war, and it's trying to portray it sort of like... It's very stereotypical with the characters in the movie. None of them are really annoying, which it could have fallen into that category. Shia LaBeouf, even though he gets on my nerves a lot, he's just a character who sort of like languishes in the background. He plays the Bible, the character. But you've also got the Spanish-speaking one, you've got the hothead one, and then you've got them all run, which is by Brad Pitt. And then you've got the guy who's sort of like training and finding his wings, finding his ways, and It's just, I found the film just too clean cut. If you watch some of the scenes during the nighttime, you've got flashes of red and green, which indicates the bullets from either side hitting each other, and it reminded me of Star Wars rather than a war film. If you're trying to do a war film, it needs to be gritty, like a Band of Brothers or TV programs like that, or films like that, not as clean and crisp as this movie is. There's some really well created sequences in the film, and the cinematography at times is really well handled. It's just the ridiculous elements of the movie, and it's just too clean cut.
I kind of disagree, because I mean, one of the first scenes of Logan Lerman's character is when he's assigned to the tank and finds himself in a situation where he's basically got to clean out the guts of the guy that was in his seat previously, that had died and bled everywhere. So I didn't think it was that clean cut. I just saw that the sheen, the shine, the quality on it, it's heavily edited. It's heavily scripted. It's heavily put together like that. There is no leeway at all. None of the characters feel like they are characters. They feel like they're caricatures of characters. They don't feel like they're embodying something who supposedly were to believe that they're real. Whereas if you watch things like Band of Brothers, you believe that this is actually a proper person rather than somebody playing that person. You need that kind of level when you're watching movies like this, when movies which involves 5 or 6 characters where you need to latch onto their stories. You need to believe them, and I didn't believe them. But we could be here all night with this. Yeah. Let's go on to the first review.
Yeah, which is Pride. It's directed by Matthew Warkus, and it's set in 1984. And it just centres around the miners' strike in the UK. And the miners' strike, it merely affected the Welsh areas, and this film itself is set in Wales, but it's set in 2 areas. It's firstly set in London, which involves the character of Joe, who's played by George McKay. He's sort of like a closet homosexual. He keeps himself to himself. He's a very recluse kind of person, and ultimately he gets brought out of his shell when he meets up with this group of people who were a society of lesbians and gays who were trying to help out this Welsh town who were suffering from the miners' strike. A lot of them are either striking all the time, or they've got very low paid work. The conditions are really awful, and this was all thanks to Margaret Thatcher, who was Prime Minister of the UK at the time. Here's a clip which gives you a feel of the movie.
Listen to me, everyone. I just want to say something.
Put your feet off those seats.
We've let you down. No, we have. We haven't collected enough. We haven't raised enough awareness. We know that. No, it's not enough to always be defending. Sometimes you have to attack, to push forward. And that's exactly what we're going to do. When we get back to London, and you have my word on this, we're going to do something so spectacular. It will be so incredible, so effective that the National Coal Board, I promise you this, will come crawling on their hands and knees in full drag to beg you for forgiveness. Now, victory! Victory to the miners!
Now, the thing with Pride is, I reviewed it for the cinema section, and I loved the film. When I went to see it at the cinema, I had a really horrible day at work, and like when I went to see Sunshine on Leith, that cheered me up. And this film itself, it cheered me up because it's not just a drama about the miners and this group of people trying to help them out, but there is also some very witty humour in the film. Every one of the characters is very likeable. You latch instantly on with each one of the characters and follow their plight, and it's brilliantly acted. The storyline flows and flitters around brilliantly. The cinematography, the way it's shot, giving you the grimy look of the town, especially in Wales. You can definitely see their plight. That's what it was like in the early 80s regarding the miners' strike, because it was a horrible thing to happen. It affected so many people's lives. And so you need the movie to have the feel of that, and it has the feel of that. It's just, the movie itself is brilliant. It was one of the best British films of last year. One of the best British films to come out in the last 5 years, in my opinion, and it still holds up watching it for a second time. So I rewatched it again, and I still really, really enjoyed this film. It definitely needs to be seen.
I agree. I really, really liked it, and I enjoyed it. And I think that the thing as well is it's got Dominic. I forget what his name is. I'm having a day with names. You know who's in it? Dominic.
I didn't write his name down, but I know who you mean.
Dominic Monaghan. Dominic Monaghan. Yeah. Dominic Monaghan, who's in it, who's not one of my favourite actors because I don't think he's been a great actor in a lot of roles. And in this, I think he's brilliant. I think he's stand out. I think that the film itself manages to get this thing of the director manages to do this thing of getting great performances from everyone involved. There's no one that you think, oh, that's terrible, it's bad. It's a great performance piece for the entire cast. And not only that, it's one of these films that's got heart about a subject which is maybe a little bit controversial, but it doesn't treat it as being controversial. It just treats it as factual. This is what happened. These are the people that were involved in it, and this is what it's about. And it's just matter of fact, good quality fun. That's what it is, and it's a dramatic film. But and also, I mean, at the end of the film, without giving anything away, there's some moments where you kind of like it kind of hits you where it counts, and you kind of, you know, you're taken aback at the end of it, going, you know what, it's a feel good film, but it's not a feel good subject, and that's the thing. It's interesting about it. It manages to bring sort of a good feeling about a dark subject without making light of it, which is a very rare thing.
It's a feel good film with a serious point to it.
Yeah. So, Nightcrawler, which is the movie directed and written by Dan Gilroy, who, if the name sounds familiar, is the brother of Tony Gilroy, who is known for the sort of setting up the Bourne franchise and directing the last Bourne film. Here you have him directing a very, very low down, disgusting character of Lewis Bloom, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. You know he's very low down, he's very disgusting, because as soon as you're introduced to him at the very start of the film, he's already robbed someone. He's trying to weasel his way into a job, but has no luck, and is basically selling scrap metal. Even though he's sort of desperate and looking for work, no one will hire him. He ends up stumbling across a crime scene where there are people called stringers who run up and record things, you know, the disasters that you see on the news. They're the people that go out there, run around with cameras and catch the footage as soon as they can. Finds this interesting, finds the fact that being able to do something like this is the kind of thing he thinks he can do, and sets himself up doing this kind of sort of journalism that's sort of on the streets, very quick paced, running out, and sometimes in some cases getting there before the police. Manages to get himself sort of in a position where he can manipulate things as he does, including at a local television station where the producer of the morning news, played by Rene Russo, has sort of entered into an agreement with him where he is sort of providing them with footage on a deal where he gets some things in return which wouldn't necessarily be given to anyone, except for he's very, very good at manipulating people. Here's a clip.
The name of my company is Video Production News, a professional news gathering service. That's how it should be read, and that's how it should be said. I also want to go to the next rung and meet your team, and the station manager, and the director, and the anchors, and start developing my own personal relationships. I'd like to start meeting them this morning. You'll take me around, you'll introduce me as the owner and president of Video Production News, and remind them of some of my many other stories. I'm not done. I also want to stop our discussion over prices. This will save time. So when I say that a particular number is my lowest price, that's my lowest price. And you can be assured that I arrived at whatever that number is very carefully. Now, when I say that I want these things, I mean that I want them. And I don't want to have to ask again.
Apologies, there does appear to have been a swear word at the start.
Well done.
Yeah. It was edited together quickly.
I know. He returns, doesn't he, after having 1 week off, and then he ends up putting an F-bomb in a clip.
Yeah.
Genius.
But it is a film that basically, it's a dirty, grimy, horrible film. But the thing is, it's like watching a train wreck. You cannot look away. You may be disgusted at points. You may be sort of grossly kind of disturbed by it. But the thing is that it's such an interesting character, and Jake Gyllenhaal is such a brilliant actor and brings it across the screen so fantastically that it's literally a thing of that you cannot look away. And I mean, when I saw this at the cinema, my other half, she saw it and she walked out the screen afterwards. She goes, "I feel like I need a shower. I feel so dirty after watching that. It's horrible." But she liked the film, and that's the thing. It's a film that it has very, very low moral standings of the main character, and there's things that happen where he starts sort of manipulating crime scenes when he gets there early, so that it can look better on film and doing things. And it's so horrible and disgusting, but literally, it's so engrossing. Such a great film and brilliantly directed, brilliantly put together, and I absolutely loved it. I think that Jake Gyllenhaal was kind of robbed by not being in sort of with the people for not getting an Oscar, but obviously he was in very, very high standings this year. But he's fantastic in it. It's brilliantly put together. It is very, very dark, but it's very, very much a great film.
Yeah, I think Jake Gyllenhaal is easily my favourite actor. If you look at the previous work that he did from before Nightcrawler, just look at the few films that he did before that. He did Enemy, which has only just been released over here, so I can include it in our awards at the end of the year, which is brilliant for that. He also did Prisoners before that, then End of Watch, and then Source Code before that.
And Donnie Darko as well.
But that was just the 5 films before he did Nightcrawler. That's unbelievable, just them ones there. His latest film that's coming out this year, Southpaw, where he's had to put on a lot of muscle to play a boxer. This might be the one that gets him an Oscar nod for next year, but he's a brilliant actor, and I think he's one of the only ones who could portray somebody as despicable and as nasty as his character in the movie, because the way he goes about it's just got a very stoic look on his face, like what he's doing is right, but you're watching it and going, I really hate you. What you're doing is not right. It's horrible. It's despicable. But he's just trying to make a living. And the weird, when he's during an interview, how he could easily pass a lie detector test. Easily, because he just has no emotion on his face. And so that could only be done by Jake Gyllenhaal. Like Andrew said, the film itself is dark, it's disgusting, it's despicable. But it is the ultimate train wreck of a movie that you can't keep your eyes off. It's not a train wreck in a movie where it's a bad thing. It's a train wreck in a movie where it's a good thing because you're captivated throughout. You're just gobsmacked at the movie. I loved it.
Yeah, not train wreck as in a disaster. Train wreck as in just so bad morally that you shouldn't be watching it, but you're loving every second of it.
Exactly. Right, next film, Mr. Turner, directed by Mike Leigh. It stars Timothy Spall, who plays GMW Turner, and it's set during the period of life between... It's the last around about 3 months, somewhere in that region of his life, of GMW Turner. And GMW Turner is a British painter. He was more famous for painting sort of like seascapes, and he was obsessed with painting seascapes. And so the film itself, it just follows his life and what kind of character he was like. At the start of the film, his wife comes in and argues with them. Here's a clip which plays that little bit out.
Good day to you, sir.
And a very good day to you, Mrs. D.
And how do we find you on this fair morning?
Exceedingly preoccupied, madam.
Was ever thus? You've always been preoccupied. You're too preoccupied for your own good, sir.
Nothing comes from nothing, madam.
And we have had nothing from you, sir. Evelina, Georgina, come and greet your father.
Good day, Father. May I present my child to you?
Your granddaughter.
Rosalie Adelaide.
Your only surviving grandchild. Georgina, cease your dithering.
May I suggest, Mrs. D, with the utmost respect, that you withdraw to the drawing room?
Good day to you, Mrs. Darby. Would you care to step this way?
Good day to you, Mr. Turner. And will you be gracing us with your presence in the withdrawing room, sir? I sincerely hope you will. And pray do not keep us waiting. We have our own lives to lead. Come along, daughters.
The vapours in this room are most noxious to a child's lungs.
And so, like I said, the film itself is just about how his life, how the fact that he's got a close relationship with his mate who helps him out with the house, and also how he falls sort of like for this woman who he rents a bed and breakfast with every single time he goes across to just find sort of like inspiration for his art, and how he's with these high and mighty painters who stick their nose up at another painter who just needs help, and all of that thing. So the storyline is very simple, and for a film that's on for 2.5 hours, I found myself bored to tears. Now, this film was a critical darling. A lot of the critics absolutely loved this movie. And you can see why in some elements of it. Timothy Spall, for instance, playing GMW Turner, he grunts and groans and snorts his way through life. There is a sex scene which is really uncomfortable to watch, because he's snorting and grunting and crying throughout, and you just think to yourself, imagine having that on your back. And it's just a really horrible thing. And it's really uncomfortable to watch, and he plays it brilliantly. He plays Turner brilliantly. Don't know what Turner was like. Don't know if Turner was like this the portrait of him in the film. But that's the way Timothy Spall plays it, and he does it brilliantly. Mike Leigh also directs it really nicely as well. It's got some really nice touches. I think he's more interested in how to frame the film and what was in the frame rather than the acting, apart from Timothy Spall, because the rest, you heard that clip there, and I found that epitomizes the whole film. It's well overblown. The acting is completely OTT. The way his supposed wife, she crops up again during the movie, and I was thinking to myself when I watched the first scene there, I hope that she's not again in the film. And she appears again. I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm gonna have a headache from her. And just I didn't like the film. Unfortunately, I didn't like the film. If I took out the brilliant acting from Timothy Spall and how the film was shot, it would just be I would actually include it in my top 10 worst films of the year.
Really?
But because, bad, that bored I was of it. But because of how brilliant Timothy Spall is in the movie, it's the kind of film where an actor might help a bad film, and might alleviate it from maybe a 2 or a 3 to a 4. But he's alleviated a movie that I would have easily given a 2 to a 5, a 5.5, because Timothy Spall is so fantastic in the movie. The rest, I was bored to tears. I didn't like it at all.
I'm genuinely surprised by that. I mean, because I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it, and I thought it was down to largely his performance, Timothy Spall's performance. But I thought it definitely is too long. It's by a mile, by half an hour at least. It didn't need to be even 2 hours long. There's lots of things that should have been cut out of there for running time, and lots of things that just didn't fit. As well as obviously it's based on true character, there are things that just you felt were unnecessary for the character.
There's not enough of his life that's interesting enough to fill 2.5 hours.
Yeah, well, the thing that I did like about it though, because you normally get these things where it focuses too much on the art. And it tries to explain the art more than it does the character, and that I don't know if it was the best thing or not, but I thought it was kind of okay. It doesn't give you a lot of detail on the art, more on the person than it does the art. So for that, I was kind of like, I thought it was okay, but I agree it's definitely far too long, and it feels it. I know for a 2.5 hour film there are points in it where I'm thinking, come on, it must be near the end, and then finding out it's not. And it's one of those kind of films where you do get to a point and it starts to test your patience. And that's not a good thing.
I think the worst time to watch this film was when I watched it, and that was 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Yeah, don't watch it then, because it definitely feels like you're 5 again and having to watch Little House on the Prairie.
Well, let's not go there.
Actually, I'd rather watch Little House on the Prairie, to be honest, than watch Mr. Turner again.
I'm going to go on to The Judge, which is directed by David Dobkin. It is the movie that has Robert Downey Jr., as we're introduced to him at the start of the film, a big successful defence lawyer who kind of has no qualms about defending people who are clearly guilty and getting them off on technicalities, or doing his best job of getting them off even though it clearly shows that they really sort of shouldn't. He is then introduced in the middle of a trial by phone and learns that his mother has passed away. Decides that he's going to go back home for her funeral, begrudgingly to see again his father, played by Robert Duvall, who is a judge in his hometown. He's there as well and sort of meets with an old flame, played by Vera Farmiga, and it's this thing of that when he's there, it turns out there has been an accident one night where a man who was in his father's courtroom in a case and potentially was going to go to jail for a length of time, but got off on the case, has been hit by someone with a car, and it turns out it may have been Robert Duvall's character that did this. So is obviously facing sort of a trial in which he will be the person who is under trial. Here's a clip.
The preliminary hearing's set for next Friday. Wow, we're in a bit of a pickle.
It's pretty straightforward, CP. It was dark.
Hold up.
What'd you say your strong suit is? Old furniture or law? Quick.
Law.
Law school?
Yes.
Yes, you're familiar with the concept, or yes, you attended one?
Oh, we can't practice law without going to law school. Yeah, Valpo.
Ever defended in a jury trial?
Yes, I have.
Charge?
Assault.
Degree?
Third.
Verdict?
It was a guilty verdict. Coach Blakely broke a clipboard over his quarterback's head during halftime at the homecoming game. Now, in his defense...
Now he gets one.
John Jr. had his helmet on.
He just keeps selling, doesn't he?
Sit down.
So, here's the thing with The Judge. It's a film, one of these films, you've probably heard me say it before, it's a film that's trying to be two things. Doesn't know whether it's being a comedy or being a serious drama, and it tries to do both and end up doing neither. It is one of those films where you got Robert Downey Jr., who is great with quips. He's great at doing these one-liner things and very quick-witted dialogue, and he does that, and he's doing that in the film, which is perfectly fine. But he's doing it, and it's trying to be funny when it shouldn't be. It's trying to be serious when it shouldn't be. And there's these scenes with him, with Robert Duvall's character. Their characters have a strained past, and their relationship isn't great. And the thing of that is what really should have been focused on more, and the drama of that, and the drama of the story. And it doesn't. It focuses on the mixed things, and you have this thing as well. Then of Billy Bob Thornton, who comes in as a hotshot lawyer who basically is out for kind of revenge against Robert Downey Jr.'s character, because now obviously the tables are turned. Robert Downey Jr. is now the defense lawyer, and he's the prosecution, and it's the whole thing of that. And it's a thing of that. It's doesn't really know how to deal with it, and it does it the wrong way. It's got some decent performance in it. Robert Duvall has a great performance in there, and it has some moments in it which are actually quite cringeworthy between Robert Downey Jr.'s character and Vera Farmiga's character as an old flame who he's kind of back in town now. And despite his father being in trouble and him should be sort of focusing on that, he's kind of chasing tail with her at the time. And so it really feels kind of like a scattergun effect. It's all over the place. It's not bad, it's not terrible, it's just very unfocused, doesn't know what it wants to do. And that's a problem, because you find by the end of the film you're going, well, why was all that in here? That, you know, you pick all these bits out and you go, that didn't need to be, that didn't mean there. That's like it's from a completely different film. It shouldn't have been in there, and the film should have basically been made shorter, focus on the drama, been made for less than 2 hours time, because it's over 2 hours. It's 2 hours 20 minutes long. It should have been an hour and a half. Good drama. That would have been the better way to go. And it's just a shame they didn't.
Right, next up, Rec 4 Apocalypse, the final part in the Rec series. This one's directed by Juan Balaguero. Paco Plaza and Juan Balaguero created the series back in 2007 with the first one. And then Juan Balaguero directed the second one. Paco Plaza directed the third one, while Juan Balaguero went off and did Sleep Tight. And now Juan Balaguero is directing the fourth one, where both of them have written it. Is that understood?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, sort of. It stars Manuela Velasco, who plays Angela. She's the character from the first two. She plays the reporter in the first one and also in the second one. She wasn't present in the third film. And this, it centres around her character. She's now being brought to this huge, massive oil tanker out in the middle of the ocean. She doesn't know why she's there. She then discovers that she could be getting experimented on, because they discover what the meaning was behind the outbreak, the zombie outbreak in 2007 in the apartment blocks. And so, unfortunately, by bringing her onto this tanker, they've gone and messed things up, and the people on board are in major trouble because this virus is now loose on the tanker. This would be where we'd actually play a clip, but because the film's in Spanish, it's a bit pointless because we're not a Spanish show. Yeah, and the thing with Rec 4 is it's shot naturally, so it's shot like the way they did the last 2/3 of Rec 3, because in Rec 3, after about the first 20-25 minutes, they drop the shaky cam, which was the way the first two films were actually done. And so they then shoot it like a normal, natural film. And this is exactly the same with this one. And I loved the first two films because it was a shaky cam. It felt like you were playing one of the characters, you were there. And they are really tense, those movies. They are very good. This is the kind of horror film where you weren't sure if you were going to go and see It Follows because you weren't sure if it had all the jump scares and things like that.
Yeah.
The Wreck series, I definitely recommend do not watch.
No, I know. I didn't like the trailer for the first one. That freaked me out, no end.
Yeah, Wreck 1 and Wreck 2 are the last two films, because the Babadook didn't make me scared. I wasn't scared of the Babadook. It was tense, but it didn't scare me. Wreck was the last film that scared me. It actually made me jump. I've seen it a couple of times, and it works again and again and again. They are both. The first two are tense. The third one plays more like a slight more comedy kind of movie. There is some humorous elements to it. There's an element which involves a big massive chainsaw, so it reminded me of Brain Dead. Not as like over the top comedy as Brain Dead,
yeah.
But it reminded me a little of this one. This one sort of like follows suit with the third film, and that's why I have the problem with it. I wanted them to go back and finish off the series old style, go back to the shaky cam of the 2007 first film and make it tense, because you're in a closed-in area, claustrophobic area of a big, huge, massive oil tanker. And so it would suit it perfectly, whereas with the third film, it was set at a wedding, so you've got more of expansive areas. This one, it's more closed off, so you want the tension. There are a few tense scenes in the movie, but it's just very it's very straightforward. If you like the series, it's a good way to end off the series. If you want to see a zombie movie, then there's very few of them now, zombie films. It's a genre apart from in television and video games, where in films they're just very few and far between. And the Wreck series is probably the best zombie series in a very long time. So if you've kept up with the series, then watch it. But if you've not, then I don't know why you're starting with Wreck 4. Go and watch the first two. It's good.
The Dying of the Light, which is the movie with Nicolas Cage playing a sort of old CIA operative who has been sort of stuck on a desk for several years, as we were introduced to him at the start of the film. He is kind of the guy that they pull out at the sort of the meetings of the new sort of recruits to give a speech, which I'll play in just a moment with a clip for that. But basically it's a film about his character and a sort of a subordinate character played by Anton Yelchin looking into this mysterious thing of these things that lead to a suspected terrorist that supposedly is dead, but Nicolas Cage's character believes is not dead, who he has a sort of a past with, who was tortured by years and years ago. The two of them sort of going through, following clues even though they've been told not to, kind of going rogue, trying to track down and find this suspected terrorist so they can find and kill him, even though apparently he's already dead. Here's a clip.
What the hell are you doing here? Haven't you heard? The CIA fell from the Berlin Wall and all the president's men can't put it back together again. It's broke. Not reliable, not trustworthy, can't stand up to the White House. Backstabbers. Watching porn, tapping phones. Best and brightest quit or retired. What in the name of Jesus Christ nailed to the cross are you doing here? Because you heard the call. That's why. Your future spread out before you like a cruise ship buffet. You were teaching in a classroom, working in a kitchen, training in a gym, and you heard the call. For some, it was adventure. For some, mystique. For all, it was 9/11, and you heard the call, and it was the call of duty and love of country. Why? Because you have values.
So here's the thing with Dying of Light. You heard in that clip. You have Nicolas Cage doing his, the Nicolas Cage. It's kind of become like a Nicolas Cage Michael Caine impersonation. So he's like, he has these scenes where he's talking very, very quietly and fine, and then he goes at the end, and all of a sudden he breaks out in a very, very serious, funny, loud voice at the end of it, and that's how he ends the scene. And that's kind of the Nicolas Cage, school of acting now, and that actually suits this perfectly fine, because there's this whole thing of all the way through the film he's dealing with this issue that he's been diagnosed with this brain illness where he will have these outbursts and such and not be able to sort of control himself so much, and that actually works. I mean, it's possible maybe even that's what Nicolas Cage has, and that's why it works. But the thing is, I mean, it's not a great film, it's not brilliant, it's not bad. The first hour of it's definitely better than the last bit of it and the last half hour of it, because it's not a long film. It doesn't really have enough there to even run that steam, but enough steam to sort of build that up and finish that. But it's okay. It is B-movie territory. You kind of wonder what Anton Yelchin's doing in it, because Nicolas Cage has kind of fallen into doing these B-movies perfectly fine. Anton Yelchin hasn't so much, but I mean, it's not boring. It's not terrible. There are moments in it when I kind of went, "Oh, come on, really?" And there's that problem with it. But I would, quite gladly say there have been films I've watched for longer than half an hour that were worse than this.
Yeah, okay.
I know it's not a lot to say, but really, I mean,
I know.
It is kind of, it's straight to video release. I think it got a cinema release in America, and I can see why it got straight to video here, because it's that kind of level.
That sums up Anton Yelchin's career, because his previous film was Odd Thomas, and that got the theatrical release in the US straight to DVD. I loved Odd Thomas.
And that deserved to get a cinema release. That's a lot better than this. I'm not saying this is terrible, but that's a better film than this.
It could have been much worse, considering that it is Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage. And the previous film that he was in that I watched was that one where he played a pilot, where it was all the religious movie or whatever. I can't remember the name of it. But it
was religious.
Yeah, critics really panned it, and it made loads of critics.
Oh, yeah, the one that was out recently. Yeah, that was the one that. Oh God, terrible. Yeah, the one that's based on the book. Yeah, I can't think of the name of it. Yeah, the one about the rapture and all.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
it'll be on our list by the end of the year, and we'll remember it by then.
The thing is, well, just thinking about, there's a scene with him and Anton Yelchin where they're talking and they're drinking, and they're talking about serious things, and all of a sudden Nicolas Cage does this thing basically where he's talking. It's really serious and grim, and then he just bursts out laughing in that manic way that Nicolas Cage can, and you're literally going, "Yep, that's Nicolas Cage."
Left Behind was the film.
Left Behind, yeah. Oh, you wish you were Left Behind after that, but
yeah, it'll be a cold bottom.
It's not anywhere near as bad as that. It's definitely not anywhere near as bad as that.
I don't know how you can be as bad as that, because that was an awful film.
That was awful. That was a horrible film, and from an ex-Bond director as well. Oh, that was no.
Yeah,
this isn't
right.
That.
Final film of the night is Clown. It's directed by John Watts and produced by Eli Roth. Eli Roth has a very blink and you miss it role in the movie. He plays Frowny the Clown in the film, but it's a very blink and you'll miss it. With that name, you would think that this film is sort of like a comedy horror. Nope. If you're coulrophobic, this will really kill you. Coulrophobia is the fear of clowns. If you don't like clowns, you will hate this film. It centres around a couple, and the actor is Andy Powers. He plays Kent, and his son wants a clown for his birthday. His son's obsessed with clowns, and unfortunately this clown can't turn up, so he dresses up as a clown after finding this clown outfit. Unfortunately, for some reason, this clown outfit will not come off. No matter how much he tries, when he goes to work the next day, he tries to rip off his nose, which he actually does literally rip off his nose. He tries to take off the wig using saws and things like that, but it doesn't work. He then seeks the help of the previous person who supposedly owned the outfit, who's played by Peter Stormare, and he tells him that this outfit that he's wearing is cursed by a demon. The person who puts it on will slowly start to turn into a clown, and the only way this outfit can be taken off is if either the person is beheaded or they kill and eat 5 children. And so the rest of the film is they need to try and stop this clown, trying to help Kent. Now, like I said, you would think that with it being about a clown, it's a comedy movie. It's not. This is a very serious, straightforward horror film. Because I was expecting humour in the movie, and there is none. Like I said, Eli Roth plays a blink and you'll miss it part in Frowny the Clown. It involves a scene where the wife of Kent, she looks through a camera to see who was originally the person in this outfit, and sees this demon slouched in a chair who wants to just eat a child, and that is played by Eli Roth. And so the film itself it's not bad actually, considering the kind of, it's been thrown straight to DVD. There are some really nasty, gory moments in it, and what you expect. Death of children is not a subject in a movie that they're going to give it a PG or anything. You're definitely going to see it as 18. And to be honest, I was expecting more gore in that front then. With it being an 18-rated movie, you've got carte blanche. You can actually go to the extremes, and so you can see maybe a child being eaten, and unfortunately you don't see a child being eaten. That sounds really bad, that, unfortunately.
You just sound really, really warped now.
Sounds like very maniacal. But there are a few scenes where you see a child getting, like, his fingers being bitten off, or something like the remains of the body after one child, where the clown has crept into his house and killed him after playing Halo. Brilliant game to actually play before you die. But yeah, the film itself is gory. There are a few little jump scares in the movie, and it's not bad. It's straight to DVD fodder, but it's not bad. It's not bargain basement stuff, even though this is the last movie that we're reviewing this week, and you would normally expect the last movie to be the bad film of the week, but it's not. It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, okay. So that's it for this week's cinema release and DVD and Blu-ray section shows. We hope you've enjoyed listening to us, despite the bit of a hiccup at the start of the show with the, problems.
My internet connection.
Yeah. It's not been the best show this week, has it? No. But thank you for listening to us if you've been listening live. If you've not, then thank you for downloading us. If you're listening to us on places like iTunes, please do feel free to give us some feedback on there. We do look forward to that, and we do appreciate any positive or negative feedback. Let us know if we're doing something wrong. Let us know how we can improve the show. Feed our egos, please. That's it, though. We're going to give some quick shout-outs as we normally do. Followingthenerd.com, which Stuart will be on there this week. They didn't have a show last week because they also had technical difficulties. Been one of these weeks. Hopefully they'll be back this week. From Page to Screen, with the number 2 in the middle.com. As you heard in the ad there, they do their shows, including their horror show, which Stuart is involved with. And also, there's is Menage a Geek still around? I'm not sure, because I know Alan was busy with things, wasn't he? Do things, but I didn't show. He's not. Okay. And unfortunately, Serum Foundation is no longer around. We're looking to see if there's another charity. If you think there's a charity worth us sort of recommending,
Serum Foundation is around.
It's not. Well, they've announced that they are sort of stopping things, though, aren't they? Was there not something about that?
I'm not sure. I'll have to find that out.
I think there was something that they were stopping, sort of, because the people that sort of run it just weren't able to run it anymore. But if that is, then feel free to check out serumfoundation.org.uk. If not, though, if they are no longer around, then let us know if you think there's a charity worth us giving a shout out to. You can find us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. Stuart's on there at Cryptic Tadpole. I'm on there at AHDVD. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. And you can email us mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. So, we're going to leave you with a clip in a moment, after which we'll let you know, obviously, next week. Hopefully we'll be back on the Monday. Things may be sort of all over the place at the moment. But this week we've had a look at these movies then. What do you think? Movie of the week?
TV movie of the week first.
Yeah, I'll do that in a minute, though. Movie of the week?
Oh. I'm
changing
backwards.
it up. Yeah.
It Follows.
It Follows. Surprising. Okay.
And Nightcrawler on Blu-ray and DVD.
I only saw Focus, but I'm going to say Nightcrawler, yeah. We agreed on Nightcrawler. Focus was enjoyable, but yeah, Nightcrawler. See Nightcrawler. Don't bother going to cinema. Just see Nightcrawler. TV movies of the week. I've got a couple. I'm not sure what ones you've got, though.
I can probably guess the reason, one of the films that you've gone with, considering that I know what the end clip is. So my guess is you've gone with District 9 on film for Friday the 6th at 10:50.
Nope.
Well, I have.
I know, that's why I didn't go with it.
It's Neil Blomkamp's directorial debut. It's a brilliant film. And stay up, because after that you've got one of the most influential science fiction films ever created in Fritz Lang's Metropolis. It's a Silent Night film. It's a silent film. It's from 1927. It's on for about 2.5 hours, so that's a bit of a double bill where you're going to be weary-eyed the next morning. But I highly recommend you watching Fritz Lang's Metropolis, because that's where science fiction was born.
Okay, and the movie I've got is a film that's on now, because we're doing the show on a Sunday night. It means you have got Monday night free, so you can watch Serenity on Film 4 Monday the 2nd of November, Monday the 2nd of March. Why am I thinking November? At 9 o'clock. But if you miss it, it's also on Saturday the 7th of March at 9 o'clock. So it's on twice. You can definitely catch that at some point. That's the final film to the Joss Whedon series of Firefly, which you don't have to have seen to enjoy the film, but it's good as well. So
that was the first film I saw Chiwetel Ejiofor in.
Yes,
that guy in that.
He's very good in the film as well. So that's it for this week. We hope you've enjoyed the show. It has been a bit of a chaotic thing. Hopefully it won't be this bad in problems in next week's show. During which next week we will be reviewing, amongst other releases, the film Chappie, which we're going to play you with a clip of just now, which stars, among other people, Dev Patel and Sigourney Weaver, who are in this clip. So until next week, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Morning, Dion.
All right. Let's have it. What are you proposing now?
I think I've cracked it. The world's first proper, full artificial intelligence. This is a computer system that might be smarter than a human. I could show it a piece of art, and this thing, this being, could judge that art. It could decide if it liked it. It could write music and poetry.
Stop, please, Dion. Do you realize you just came to the CEO of a publicly traded weapons corporation and pitched a robot that can write poems?